The rain fell in heavy sheets that November afternoon as Julian Prescott knelt at his wife's grave, but it wasn't the cold water soaking through his expensive suit that made him freeze in place. It was the two small figures huddled against the headstone next to Emily's grave, two identical little girls no more than 7 years old, their thin clothes plastered to their shivering bodies. Their brown skin was ashy from the cold, their hair matted and tangled, and their eyes held a hollow look that no child should ever have. One of them clutched a soggy piece of cardboard over both their heads, while the other held a small, dirty stuffed rabbit. When they saw him, instead of running away like he expected, they simply stared at him with exhaustion that seemed too ancient for their young faces. The girl with the rabbit spoke first, her voice barely a whisper against the storm. "Are you the man whose wife is buried here? The nice lady?" Julian's throat tightened as he nodded slowly. The second girl continued, "We've been sleeping here for 3 days. It feels safe near her. Like she's watching over us." His heart cracked wide open. These children were homeless, alone, and had chosen his wife's grave as their shelter. The girl with the rabbit started crying. "We're so hungry. Our sister Simone works all day and all night, but we lost our apartment and we didn't want to bother her at work and we didn't know where else to go." Julian didn't hesitate. He removed his coat and wrapped it around both girls, lifting them easily despite the protest of his knees. "You're coming with me right now," he said firmly. "We're going to get you warm, fed, and safe." The girls didn't resist. They curled into his chest like they'd been waiting for someone to save them. As he carried them through the cemetery toward his car, the girl with the rabbit whispered, "Thank you, mister." The other added, "Your wife must have been really nice. She feels nice here." Julian's eyes burned with tears that had nothing to do with the rain. Emily had always wanted children. They'd been trying when the cancer took her 3 years ago. Now, somehow, 2 children had found him at her grave on the anniversary of her death. He didn't believe in coincidences. Would you let 2 starving children stay another night in a graveyard, or would you do whatever it takes to save them? Comment below what you would do, and subscribe to see how Julian's life changes forever. Julian had driven to Oakwood Cemetery like he did every year on November 14th. 3 years since Emily died, and the pain still felt fresh some days. His driver had offered to take him, but Julian needed to be alone with his thoughts. The grey sky matched his mood perfectly as he parked his Mercedes and walked through the rows of headstones, a bouquet of white roses in his hand. Emily's favorite. Her grave was in a peaceful corner under an old oak tree. He'd chosen the spot carefully, making sure she'd have shade in summer and that the morning sun would reach her. It seemed important at the time, though he knew it was more for him than for her. The headstone was simple but elegant, just like she'd been. Emily Rose Prescott. Beloved wife. Gone too soon. As he approached, he saw them. 2 little girls, identical twins, sitting against the neighboring headstone. Their presence shocked him so much he stopped walking. They looked maybe 7 years old, with matching faces that would have been beautiful if they weren't so gaunt and dirty. Their clothes were thin and inadequate for the cold November weather. One wore a faded pink jacket with a broken zipper. The other had on a purple sweater with holes in the elbows. The rain started suddenly, hard and cold. Julian rushed forward, but the girls didn't move. They just huddled closer together, one trying to shield them both with a piece of wet cardboard. Up close, he could see they were shivering violently. Their lips had a bluish tint. How long had they been out here? "Hello," he said softly, not wanting to scare them. "Are you girls okay?" The one with the stuffed rabbit looked up at him with enormous brown eyes. "Are you the man whose wife is buried here?" Julian blinked in surprise. "Yes." "How did you know?" "We've seen you before," the other girl said. "Last year." "You brought roses then too." His mind reeled. They'd been here last year? He didn't remember seeing them. "What are your names?" "I'm Layla," said the one with the rabbit. "This is my sister Tiana. We're twins." "I can see that," Julian said gently. "Why are you here in the rain? Where are your parents?" Tiana's face crumpled. "Our parents died 2 years ago. Car accident. We live with our big sister Simone now, but something happened and we don't have an apartment anymore. We've been sleeping here for 3 nights, Layla added quietly. "It's peaceful." Your wife feels nice. Like she's taking care of us. Julian's chest constricted painfully. These babies were homeless, sleeping in a cemetery, and somehow they'd found comfort at Emily's grave. Emily, who'd spent her life volunteering at children's hospitals. Emily, who'd wanted nothing more than to be a mother. The coincidence was too much to be random. Where's your sister now? He asked. Working, Tiana said. She has 2 jobs. She works at a diner in the morning and cleans offices at night. She doesn't know we're here. She thinks we're at her friend's house, but her friend's boyfriend came back and said we had to leave. We didn't want to bother Simone, Layla whispered. She's so tired all the time. She cries when she thinks we're sleeping. That was it. Julian couldn't stand it another second. He shrugged off his coat and wrapped it around both girls. You're coming with me right now. We're going to get you warm and fed, and then we're going to find your sister. Really? Tiana's eyes went wide. You'll help us? Absolutely, Julian said firmly. He scooped them both up, surprised at how light they were. Too light. When had they last eaten properly? I'm going to take care of everything. Layla buried her face in his shoulder. Thank you, she breathed. We were so cold. As Julian carried them to his car, Tiana looked back at the graves. Bye, Mrs. Emily. Thank you for sending him to us. Julian's throat tightened. He glanced back at Emily's headstone, rain streaming down the carved letters of her name. If he believed in signs, this was a big one. These girls needed help, and he had all the resources in the world to provide it. He settled them in the back seat of his car, cranking the heat up high. Layla clutched her rabbit tighter. Tiana leaned against her sister, both of them looking small and vulnerable in his large vehicle. First stop is my house, Julian said as he started driving. My housekeeper Mrs. Grayson makes the best hot chocolate you've ever tasted. Then we'll get you into warm baths and find some proper clothes. After that, you'll tell me where your sister works, and we'll go get her. Does that sound good? Both girls nodded eagerly. Yes, sir, they said in unison. You can call me Julian, he told them, meeting their eyes in the rearview mirror. And I promise you, everything is going to be okay now. For the first time since he'd found them, both girls smiled. It was hesitant and small, but it was there. Julian felt something shift in his chest, a purpose he hadn't felt in 3 long years. Emily had always believed everything happened for a reason. Maybe she'd been right. Mrs. Grayson took one look at the bedraggled twins and immediately sprang into action. Oh, you poor darlings, she exclaimed, ushering them into the warm kitchen. Within minutes, she had them wrapped in heated blankets, sitting at the kitchen island with steaming mugs of hot chocolate and a plate of fresh cookies. Julian watched as they devoured the cookies like they hadn't eaten in days. They probably hadn't. His chest ached watching them eat so desperately, trying to be polite but clearly starving. Slow down, he said gently. There's plenty more. You don't have to rush. Layla paused mid-bite, looking embarrassed. Sorry. We haven't had cookies in a really long time. When did you last eat? Mrs. Grayson asked, her voice thick with concern. The twins looked at each other. Yesterday morning, Tiana said finally. Simone gave us her lunch before she went to work. She said she'd eat at the diner, but we know she gave us her food. Julian's jaw clenched. This Simone was clearly trying her best, but she was drowning. How old is your sister? 28, Layla said. She was in college when our parents died. She had to drop out to take care of us. She never complains, Tiana added quickly, defensively. She tells us she's happy to take care of us. But we know it's hard. She works so much and she's always worried about money. Julian pulled out a chair and sat across from them. Tell me what happened. Why did you lose your apartment? The girls exchanged another look, and Layla started talking. Simone was paying the rent, but then her car broke down and she had to fix it because she needs it to get to work. Then Tiana got sick and had to go to the hospital, and the bills were really expensive. Simone tried to catch up on the rent, but the landlord said we had to leave. That was 2 weeks ago, Tiana continued. Simone's friend Rachel said we could stay with her, but then Rachel's boyfriend came back from his trip and he said there wasn't room for all of us. He said we had to leave yesterday. Simone doesn't know we left, Layla said softly. She thinks we're still at Rachel's. She's been sleeping in her car in the parking lot at her night job so she could save money for a new apartment deposit. We didn't want her to worry. Julian felt anger burning in his chest, but not at anyone in this room. At the circumstances. At the system that let a woman work 2 jobs and still couldn't keep a roof over her siblings' heads. At the fact that 2 babies felt they had to sleep in a cemetery rather than burden their already struggling sister. "Why did you choose the cemetery?" he asked. "Why my wife's grave specifically?" Tiana's eyes filled with tears. "We went there because it was quiet and safe. Nobody bothers you there. We tried the park first but some men were there and they scared us. The cemetery felt peaceful." "Your wife's grave felt the nicest," Layla added. "We could feel that someone good was there. Someone kind. We started praying there, asking for help. And then you came." Mrs. Grayson wiped her eyes with her apron. Julian had to clear his throat twice before he could speak. "You're not going back to that cemetery. You're not sleeping outside ever again. We're going to fix this right now." "How?" Tiana asked, her voice small but hopeful. "First, you're going to take hot baths and get into clean, warm clothes." "Mrs. Grayson, do we still have those clothes in the guest room closet?" The clothes from the charity drive Emily had organized before she got too sick to continue her volunteer work. "Yes, sir," Mrs. Grayson said. "I'll find something that fits these angels." "Good. Then we're going to go find your sister and bring her here too. All 3 of you will stay in my guest house until we figure out a permanent solution. And before you argue," he added, seeing Layla about to protest, "this is what my wife would have wanted. She loved helping children. Letting you stay would honor her memory." The twins stared at him with wide eyes. "You'd really let us stay here?" Layla whispered. "All of us," Tiana added. "Even Simone?" "Especially Simone," Julian said firmly. "She's been taking care of you alone for 2 years. She needs help, and I'm going to provide it." "That's final." Tears spilled down both girls' cheeks. "Thank you," they said together. "Thank you so much." Have you ever met someone who changed your entire life in a single moment? Drop a comment about a time someone helped you when you needed it most, and don't forget to subscribe for the next chapter. Julian stood up. "Now, where does your sister work? Let's go tell her you're safe." "She's at the diner right now," Layla said. "Ruby's Diner on 5th Street. She works there until 3 o'clock. Julian checked his watch. 2:30. Perfect timing. "Mrs. Grayson, get these girls cleaned up and comfortable. I'll be back with their sister within the hour." As he headed for the door, Tiana called out, "Mr. Julian? Simone might not believe you at first. She's been disappointed a lot. But she's really nice, we promise." Julian smiled. "Don't worry. I can be very persuasive when I need to be." Ruby's Diner was a small, worn establishment with cracked vinyl booths and faded linoleum floors. Julian felt out of place the moment he walked in, his designer suit drawing curious stares from the lunch crowd. He spotted her immediately, though. She had to be Simone. She looked like an older version of the twins, the same warm brown skin and delicate features, but exhaustion hung on her like a heavy coat. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and she wore the diner's standard uniform of a pink dress and white apron. She moved between tables with practiced efficiency, balancing multiple plates, smiling at customers even though Julian could see the weariness in her eyes. She was beautiful, he realized with surprise. Not in the polished way of the women who usually tried to catch his attention at charity galas, but in a natural, genuine way that made his chest tighten. He took a seat in her section and waited. When she approached his table, her professional smile in place, their eyes met and something sparked between them. She blinked, momentarily flustered, then recovered. "Welcome to Ruby's," she said, her voice warm despite her obvious tiredness. "What can I get you today? Are you Simone Brooks?" Her smile vanished instantly, replaced by wariness. Her hand tightened on her order pad. "Who's asking?" "My name is Julian Prescott. I need to talk to you about your sisters." The color drained from her face. What happened? Are they okay? Did something happen to Layla and Tiana? Her voice rose with panic. They're fine, Julian said quickly, standing up. They're safe at my house right now. But we need to talk. Is there somewhere private we can go? Simone stared at him like he'd grown a second head. Your house? What are you talking about? They're supposed to be at my friend Rachel's place. They left Rachel's yesterday. Her boyfriend kicked them out. They've been sleeping in Oakwood Cemetery for 3 days. Simone swayed on her feet. Julian reached out to steady her, his hand on her elbow. She jerked away from his touch but didn't move away. No, she whispered. No, they said they were fine. Rachel said they could stay as long as needed. Rachel's boyfriend came back, Julian said gently. The girls didn't want to worry you. They knew you were struggling. Tears spilled down Simone's cheeks. Oh God. My babies were outside in the cold and I didn't know. What kind of sister am I? The kind who works 2 jobs to take care of her family, Julian said firmly. The kind who sacrifices everything. This isn't your fault. How do you have my sisters? Simone demanded, wiping her face roughly. Who are you? How do I know they're really safe? I found them at the cemetery this afternoon, at my late wife's grave. They were cold, hungry, and scared. I brought them home, fed them, and my housekeeper is getting them cleaned up right now. You can call them if you want. Verify they're okay. Simone's hands shook as she pulled out her phone. Julian recited his home number, and she dialed with trembling fingers. The conversation was brief, but he watched as relief flooded her features when she heard her sisters' voices. They sound happy, she said, hanging up, her voice bewildered. They say you gave them cookies and hot chocolate. And that's just the start, Julian said. I want to help you, Simone. All of you. I have a guest house on my property that's sitting empty. You and your sisters can stay there. No rent, no strings attached. Simone laughed, but it was bitter. Right. Because rich guys just give away free housing. What's the catch? What do you really want? Julian met her eyes steadily. I want to honor my late wife's memory. She devoted her life to helping children. Your sisters found comfort at her grave when they had nowhere else to go. Helping you helps me feel connected to her again. I can't accept charity, Simone said, but her voice wavered. It's not charity. It's humanity. Your sisters need stability, safety, and regular meals. You need to stop working yourself into the ground. Let me provide that. If it makes you feel better, you can pay me back someday when you're on your feet. But right now, those girls need a home, and I have one to offer. Simone stood there, torn between pride and desperation. Julian could see the internal battle playing out across her face. Finally, she spoke. Why are you doing this? You don't know us. Sometimes you don't need to know someone to know they need help, Julian said simply. And sometimes helping others helps heal your own wounds. Let me do this. Please. Let me get this straight, Simone said slowly. You want me and my sisters to live in your guest house. For free. Because my sisters were at your wife's grave. Yes. And there's no catch. You're not going to expect anything from me? Nothing except letting me help, Julian confirmed. Simone closed her eyes, and when she opened them, they were wet with tears. Okay, she whispered. Okay. I accept. Thank you. I don't know how to thank you enough. Relief flooded through Julian. You just did. Now, can you leave work early? Let's go get you home to your sisters. The guest house was larger than any place Simone had ever lived. With 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a full kitchen, and a cozy living room, it felt like a palace compared to their cramped apartment. The twins ran through the rooms squealing with delight, and Simone stood in the middle of the living room, tears streaming down her face. This is too much, she kept saying. This is too much. Julian stood in the doorway, giving her space to process. It's been empty for 2 years. My wife's mother used to stay here when she visited, but she passed away a year ago. It would make me happy to have it occupied again. Simone turned to face him, her eyes red from crying. I don't understand why you're being so kind to us. People don't just do this. Maybe they should, Julian replied. Maybe if more people helped when they could, fewer children would be sleeping in cemeteries. She flinched at that. I failed them. I should have known they left Rachel's. I should have checked on them more. You were working 2 jobs to keep them fed and trying to save for a new place. You did everything humanly possible. This situation isn't your fault. But I'm their guardian. Their big sister. I'm supposed to protect them. And you have, Julian said firmly. They're alive, they're healthy despite everything, and they adore you. They told me how you gave them your food, how you never complained. You've been protecting them all along. Now let someone protect all of you for a change. Simone wrapped her arms around herself. I don't know how to accept this. I'm not used to people helping without wanting something back. Then learn, Julian said gently. Because you deserve help, Simone. You all do. The twins ran back into the room, bouncing with excitement. Simone, there's a bathtub with jets, Tiana gushed. And the beds are so soft. And look at this kitchen, Layla added, dragging her sister by the hand. It has a real oven and everything. You can cook real meals. Simone laughed through her tears, following them to admire the kitchen. Julian watched from the doorway, feeling something warm spread through his chest. This was right. This felt like what he was supposed to be doing. Mrs. Grayson appeared at his elbow. You did a good thing today, Mr. Prescott. I haven't done anything yet, Julian murmured. They need more than just a place to live. Then you'll help with that too, Mrs. Grayson said knowingly. I can see it in your eyes. You've found a purpose again. Had he? Julian thought about the empty years since Emily died, the way he'd been going through the motions of life without really living. These 3 people had stumbled into his life by accident, and suddenly everything felt different. Over the next few days, Julian helped Simone get settled. He took her shopping for groceries, insisting she use his credit card despite her protests. He enrolled the twins in the local elementary school, buying them new clothes, backpacks, and supplies. He arranged for a tutor to help them catch up on the months of schooling they'd missed. Simone fought him on every expense until he sat her down and explained. I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. Letting it help you doesn't diminish me. It elevates all of us. Please, let me do this. She finally stopped arguing, though she kept meticulous notes of every dollar he spent, insisting she'd pay him back someday. Julian didn't have the heart to tell her he'd already decided that would never happen. What surprised him was how much time he started spending at the guest house. He'd stop by after work to check on them, staying for dinner. Simone was an excellent cook, making magic out of simple ingredients. The twins would tell him about their day at school, their faces lit up with joy at having friends and teachers and normalcy. And Simone, slowly, started to smile more. The exhaustion faded from her eyes. Her shoulders relaxed. She laughed at the twins' jokes and didn't flinch every time someone mentioned money. One evening, about 2 weeks after they'd moved in, Julian found her sitting on the guesthouse porch as the sun set. The twins were inside doing homework. Mind if I join you? He asked. It's your porch, she said, but she was smiling as she said it. He sat down beside her. They were quiet for a moment, comfortable in the silence. I quit my night job, Simone said suddenly. I gave my notice yesterday. Julian turned to look at her. That's wonderful. You needed to stop working yourself so hard. I'm scared, she admitted. I've been working 2 jobs for so long, I don't know what to do with myself now. Rest, Julian said. Spend time with your sisters. Maybe think about what you actually want to do with your life, not just what you have to do to survive. Simone looked at him, her eyes searching his face. Why are you so good to us? Because you deserve goodness, Julian said simply. And because helping you has helped me more than you know. How? She asked softly. Julian looked out at his property, at the main house where he'd been so lonely for so long. I've been dead inside since Emily died. Just going through motions. But you 3, you brought life back. Purpose. I wake up now thinking about how I can help, what I can do. It feels good to matter again. Simone reached over and took his hand. The touch sent electricity through him. You matter, Julian. You saved us. You changed our entire lives. He looked down at their joined hands, his heart beating faster. You changed mine too. As November turned into December, the guest house transformed into a real home. The twins decorated for the holidays with enthusiasm that was infectious. Julian found himself buying decorations he'd never bothered with before, helping them string lights and hang ornaments. For the first time in 3 years, his property felt alive. He kept his promise to help Simone find better employment. One of his company's partner firms needed an administrative coordinator, a position that paid well with good benefits. When Julian arranged an interview for Simone, she was nervous but determined. "You've got this," he told her the morning of the interview. "You're smart, capable, and you've managed to keep your family together through impossible circumstances. This job will be easy compared to what you've already done." She got the job. When she called to tell him, her voice was thick with emotion. "I start Monday. Julian, it's more money than I've ever made. And they have health insurance. Real health insurance for all 3 of us." "You earned it," he told her, genuinely proud. "This is the beginning of your new life." That weekend, Julian took all 3 of them shopping for professional clothes for Simone's new job. In the department store, he watched as Simone tried on outfits, the twins offering enthusiastic opinions. She looked beautiful in everything, but when she came out in a navy blue dress that matched her eyes, Julian's breath caught. "You look amazing," he said without thinking. Simone blushed, a shy smile crossing her face. "You think so?" "Definitely," he managed, trying to ignore how his heart was racing. The twins exchanged knowing looks. They'd been watching Julian and Simone interact with increasing interest. Later, when Simone went to try on another outfit, Layla tugged on Julian's sleeve. "Do you like our sister?" she whispered. Julian crouched down to her level. "Of course I like her. She's wonderful." "No," Tiana said, coming to stand beside her twin. "Do you like her like her? Like boyfriend and girlfriend like?" Julian felt his face heat. "I think your sister is very special." "She likes you too," Layla said matter-of-factly. "She gets all smiley when you come over. And she wears nice clothes now even when she's just at home." "She's happy now," Tiana added. "We haven't seen her this happy since before Mom and Dad died." "You make her happy." Julian's chest tightened with emotion. "She makes me happy too." "Then you should tell her," both girls said in unison. But it wasn't that simple. Julian couldn't shake the worry that Simone might feel obligated to him because of everything he'd done. He didn't want her gratitude. He wanted her genuine affection. So he waited, spending time with them, letting the relationship develop naturally. They fell into a routine. Julian would come over for dinner several times a week. On weekends, they'd do activities together, taking the twins to museums, parks, and movies. Simone started to relax around him, her natural humor emerging. She was funny, quick-witted, and had a way of teasing him that no one else dared. One Saturday, they took the twins ice skating. Julian was terrible at it, spending more time on his rear end than on his skates. Simone laughed so hard she had to sit down on a bench. The great Julian Prescott, defeated by ice, she gasped between giggles. "Mock me all you want," he said, crawling over to the bench. "But I don't see you out there either." "That's because I'm smart enough to know my limitations," she retorted. "Unlike some people who think their money can buy them coordination." He laughed, genuinely laughed, in a way he hadn't in years. "Fair point." She helped him to his feet, her hand warm in his. They stood close, neither moving away. Her smile faded as she looked up at him, something intense flickering in her eyes. "Thank you," she said softly. "For all of this. For giving us a life again." "Thank you," Julian replied, equally quiet. "For letting me be part of it." The moment stretched between them, charged with possibility. Then the twins skated over, breaking the spell, and they separated with reluctant smiles. That night, after he'd gone back to the main house, Julian sat in his study thinking about Simone. About how she made him feel alive. About how the twins had become important to him. About how this makeshift family had healed wounds he thought would never close. His phone rang. It was Simone. "Hey," she said, her voice soft. I just wanted to say thank you again for today. The girls had the best time. I did too, Julian admitted. I always do when I'm with you all. There was a pause. Then Simone said, Julian, can I ask you something? Anything. If circumstances were different, if we'd met another way, would you still want to spend time with us? Or is this just about helping people who need help? Julian's heart pounded. This was it. The moment to be honest. If we'd met at a coffee shop, or a bookstore, or anywhere else, I'd still want to know you, Simone. You're not a charity case to me. You're someone I care about. Someone I think about constantly. Someone who makes me laugh and feel things I thought I'd never feel again. He could hear her breathing on the other end of the line. Really? Really, he confirmed. Is that okay? It's more than okay, she whispered. I was scared you just saw us as a project. Something to fix. You were never broken, Julian said firmly. You were dealing with impossible circumstances. There's a difference. I care about you too, Simone admitted. I have for a while now. But I didn't want to assume, and I didn't want you to think I was only interested because of what you've done for us. Has someone ever changed your life so completely that you couldn't imagine existing without them? Tell us in the comments and subscribe to see where Julian and Simone's story goes next. We're both overthinking this, Julian said with a laugh. How about tomorrow, after the twins are in bed, you come to the main house for dinner? Just the two of us. A real date. I'd like that, Simone said, and he could hear the smile in her voice. I'd like that very much. The date was perfect. Julian cooked dinner himself, refusing Mrs. Grayson's help. He wasn't a great cook, but he managed a decent pasta dish with salad and wine. They ate in his dining room, the space feeling less empty with Simone there, laughing at his stories about business meetings gone wrong. I can't imagine you being nervous about anything, Simone said, sipping her wine. I'm nervous right now, Julian admitted. I haven't done this in a long time. Dating. Romance. Emily and I got together in college. She was my only relationship. Simone's expression softened. Tell me about her. So he did. He told her about meeting Emily in a literature class, about how she'd been passionate about helping others, about their plans for a family that cancer had stolen. Simone listened without judgment, her hand finding his across the table. She sounds wonderful, Simone said when he finished. I'm sorry you lost her. I am too, Julian said. But I'm learning that moving forward doesn't mean forgetting. It means honoring what we had by living fully again. Is that what I am? Simone asked quietly. Moving forward? You're so much more than that, Julian said intensely. You're not a replacement or a rebound. You're your own person, someone I genuinely want to know better. Someone I'm falling for. Simone's eyes shimmered with tears. I'm falling for you too. I have been since you carried my sisters out of that cemetery. You could have ignored them, called social services, done the minimum. But you went above and beyond. You gave us safety, security, and dignity. How could I not fall for someone like that? I want to do more, Julian said. I want to pay for the twins' education through college. I want to set up trust funds for them. I want to make sure none of you ever have to struggle again. Julian, Simone started, but he held up a hand. I know you want to be independent. I respect that. But let me do this. Not because you need me to, but because I want to. Because you're all important to me now. Simone was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. Okay. Thank you. I accept your help, and I'm grateful for it. Thank you for letting me help, Julian replied. It means everything. They moved to the living room after dinner, sitting close on the couch. Julian put on music, something soft and instrumental. Simone leaned against him, fitting perfectly into his side. Can I tell you something? She said after a while. Always. After my parents died, I was so angry. Angry at the drunk driver who hit them, angry at God for taking them, angry at the world for being so unfair. I had to drop out of school, give up my dreams, work jobs I hated. I loved my sisters, but I resented the situation. Does that make me a bad person? It makes you human, Julian said, stroking her hair. You were grieving and overwhelmed. Acknowledging that doesn't mean you love them any less. I've never told anyone that before, Simone whispered. I was scared people would judge me. I could never judge you, Julian said. You're one of the strongest people I've ever met. Simone tilted her head to look up at him. You make me feel safe enough to be vulnerable. That's rare. You do the same for me, Julian said. He told her then about the depression after Emily died, about the therapy, about the years of just existing without purpose. Meeting you three pulled me out of that darkness. You saved me as much as I saved you. They sat in comfortable silence, holding each other. When Simone finally stood to leave, Julian walked her to the guest house. At the door, she turned to face him. Thank you for tonight, she said. For being honest with me. Thank you for listening, Julian replied. They stood close, the air between them charged with anticipation. Slowly, giving her time to pull away, Julian leaned down and kissed her. It was gentle, sweet, and full of promise. Simone kissed him back, her arms wrapping around his neck. When they pulled apart, both were breathing hard. Wow, Simone breathed. Yeah, Julian agreed. Wow. Can we do this again? She asked shyly. The date, I mean. And maybe the kiss too. Julian laughed. Definitely. As often as you'll let me. Over the following weeks, they grew closer. They were careful around the twins at first, not wanting to confuse them, but the girls were delighted when Simone and Julian finally told them they were dating. Finally, Tiana said dramatically. We've been waiting forever. It's been 3 weeks, Simone protested, laughing. That's forever when you're 7, Layla informed her solemnly. Christmas came, and it was the best one Julian had experienced in years. The twins opened presents with squeals of delight. Simone cried when she opened the jewelry box Julian gave her, a simple but elegant necklace with 3 interlocking circles representing her and the twins. It's perfect, she said, kissing him as the twins pretended to gag. Julian's gift to the twins was even more emotional. He'd had their parents' belongings retrieved from storage, items Simone had sold when they lost the apartment. Photos, a favorite blanket, their mother's cookbook. The girls sobbed as they held these precious memories. How did you find these? Simone asked through her own tears. I tracked down the storage company and bought back everything they'd auctioned, Julian explained. Some detective work was involved, but it was worth it. You gave us our parents back, Layla whispered, clutching a photo of her mother. You gave us everything back, Tiana added. That night, after the twins were asleep, Simone and Julian sat by the fireplace in the main house. She was quiet, thoughtful. What's wrong? Julian asked. Nothing's wrong, Simone said. I'm just thinking about how different life is now. 6 weeks ago, we had nothing. We were sleeping in a car and a cemetery. Now we have a home, security, and you. It feels like a dream. It's real, Julian assured her. And it's only going to get better. Simone looked at him, her eyes serious. I love you, Julian. I know it's fast, but I do. I love you. Julian's heart soared. I love you too, Simone. I have for a while now. They kissed, and Julian knew with absolute certainty that this was his future. This woman and these girls were his family now. He just had to figure out how to make it official. January brought new routines and deeper bonds. Simone excelled at her new job, earning praise from her supervisors. The twins thrived in school, making friends and catching up academically. And Julian found himself at the guest house more than his own home, drawn to the warmth and laughter that filled every corner. He and Simone went on regular dates, Mrs. Grayson happily watching the twins. They tried new restaurants, went to movies, visited art galleries. Julian introduced Simone to his world gradually, taking her to a few carefully selected business dinners where his colleagues were kind and welcoming. Simone was nervous at first, worried she wouldn't fit in. But she charmed everyone she met with her genuine warmth and quick mind. Julian was proud watching her hold her own in conversations with executives and entrepreneurs. You belong in these spaces, he told her after one particularly successful dinner. Don't ever let anyone make you feel otherwise. I feel like Cinderella sometimes, Simone admitted as they drove home. Scared the clock will strike midnight and it'll all disappear. This isn't a fairy tale, Julian said firmly. This is real life, and you deserve every good thing happening to you. At home, the twins watched their relationship blossom with approval. They'd taken to calling Julian by his first name, treating him like family. He taught them to play chess, helped with homework, attended school events. He was becoming a father figure without even trying, and it felt natural. One Saturday, they all went to the zoo. The twins ran ahead to see the elephants while Julian and Simone walked hand in hand behind them. They love you, Simone said softly. I see the way they look at you. You're filling a hole our dad left. They're easy to love, Julian replied. Just like their sister. Do you ever think about the future? Simone asked. About where this is going? Julian stopped walking, turning to face her. All the time. I think about making this permanent. About building a life together. About maybe growing our family. Simone's breath caught. You'd want that. A family with me? More than anything, Julian said honestly. I loved Emily, and I'll always cherish what we had. But you're my present and my future, Simone. You and the twins. I want everything with you. Tears spilled down Simone's cheeks. I want that too. I want us to be a real family. Then let's make it happen, Julian said, pulling her close. Let's build the life we both want. They kissed there in the middle of the zoo path, the twins' laughter echoing in the background. When they pulled apart, Simone was smiling through her tears. I never thought I'd get this, she admitted. After everything fell apart, I thought happiness was impossible. But you proved me wrong. We proved each other wrong, Julian corrected. We both thought we were done with happy endings. That night, after returning home, Julian couldn't stop thinking about the future. He wanted to marry Simone, wanted to adopt the twins, wanted to make them his family legally and officially. But he needed to plan the proposal carefully. Simone deserved something special. He confided in Mrs. Grayson the next day. I want to propose, but I don't know how. What would be meaningful to her? Mrs. Grayson smiled knowingly. That girl doesn't need grand gestures, Mr. Prescott. She needs sincerity. She needs to know you're choosing her and those children forever. Julian nodded thoughtfully. I want the twins involved. They're part of this too. Then ask them, Mrs. Grayson suggested. Make it a family decision. So that evening, Julian invited the twins to the main house for hot chocolate while Simone was at a work meeting. They sat in his study, the girls curious about this special invitation. I need to talk to you both about something important, Julian began. I love your sister very much. We know, Layla said, grinning. It's super obvious. And I love you too as well, Julian continued. You've become incredibly special to me. So I want to ask you something. How would you feel if I asked Simone to marry me? The twins squealed so loudly Julian winced. They launched themselves at him, hugging him fiercely. Yes, Tiana shouted. Ask her, ask her. But I need your permission first, Julian said seriously. Because if she says yes, I want to adopt you both too. I want to be your family officially. Would that be okay with you? Both girls had tears running down their faces. You'd really adopt us? Layla whispered. You'd be our dad. If you'll have me, Julian said, his own voice thick with emotion. Yes, both girls said together. Yes, please. Then help me plan the proposal, Julian said. I want it to be perfect for all of us. They spent the next hour plotting. The twins had ideas, some more realistic than others. Finally, they settled on a plan that felt right. Simple but meaningful. The following weekend, Julian arranged everything. He told Simone he wanted to take them all to the cemetery, to Emily's grave. Simone was surprised but agreed. They stood together at the grave, the twins holding flowers. Julian had brought roses, just like that first day. Emily, Julian said, addressing the headstone, I came here 6 weeks ago broken and lost. You sent me these 3 beautiful people who changed everything. Thank you for that gift. Thank you for bringing them to me. Simone looked at him, confused. Julian, what's this about? Julian turned to face her, taking her hands. The twins moved to stand on either side of her, each taking one of her hands too. Simone Brooks, you walked into my life when I thought my story was over. You and Layla and Tiana showed me that new chapters can be just as beautiful as old ones. You taught me to live again, to love again, to hope again. He dropped to one knee, pulling out a ring box. Simone gasped, her free hand flying to her mouth. Will you marry me? Julian asked. Will you let me be your husband and a father to these incredible girls? Will you build a life with me? Yes, Simone sobbed. Yes, yes, yes. Julian slipped the ring on her finger, then stood to kiss her as the twins cheered. When they pulled apart, he addressed the girls. And will you too let me adopt you? Will you officially become my daughters? More squealing, more tears, more hugs. They stood there in the cemetery, this makeshift family that had found each other in the most unlikely way, holding each other as joy overflowed. Emily would have loved you all, Julian said, looking at the grave. Thank you for bringing them to me. As they walked back to the car, Layla tugged Julian's hand. Can we still come visit Mrs. Emily sometimes? To tell her thank you. Anytime you want, Julian promised. She's part of our story too. The next few weeks were a blur of happiness and planning. Simone wore her engagement ring constantly, stopping to stare at it like she couldn't believe it was real. The twins told everyone at school they were getting a dad, beaming with pride. Julian hired his attorney, Mr. Benjamin Foster, to begin the adoption paperwork. This should be straightforward, Mr. Foster said. You have Simone's consent as legal guardian, stable home, financial security. The judge will approve this easily. They decided on a small wedding in the spring, just family and close friends. Simone didn't want anything elaborate, preferring intimate and meaningful. I just want to marry you, she told Julian. The rest is details. Julian introduced them to his parents, who flew in from Florida for a weekend. His mother cried when she met Simone and the twins, pulling them all into fierce hugs. My boy has been alone too long, she said. I'm so glad he found you. His father was more reserved but equally warm. He pulled Julian aside and said, You've chosen well, son. They're good people. Emily would approve. I think so too, Julian agreed. Life settled into a comfortable rhythm. Simone officially moved her things from the guest house into the main house, though they maintained the guest house for the twins to have their own space. It gave everyone breathing room while keeping them close. One evening in late January, Julian came home to find Simone cooking dinner, the twins doing homework at the kitchen table. The scene was so domestic, so perfect, that he paused in the doorway just to absorb it. What? Simone asked, noticing him watching. Just memorizing this moment, Julian said. Happiness looks good in this kitchen. Simone smiled, crossing to kiss him. It feels good too. But their happiness was interrupted by a knock at the door 2 days later. Julian opened it to find a man in his 50s, disheveled and agitated, standing on his porch. Can I help you? Julian asked politely. I'm looking for Simone Brooks, the man said. I'm her uncle, Gerald Brooks. I heard she's living here. Julian's instincts immediately went on alert. And you are here because those girls are my brother's children, Gerald said. My nieces. I have a right to see them. Simone appeared behind Julian, her face going pale. Uncle Gerald? What are you doing here? There you are, Gerald said, trying to push past Julian. Julian blocked him effortlessly. I heard you're doing well now, Simone. Living in some rich man's house. Thought you might want to share the wealth with family. You're not family, Simone said coldly. You disappeared after Dad died. You didn't come to the funeral. You didn't help when we needed it. You don't get to show up now. I'm blood, Gerald insisted. That means something. And I happen to know your parents had a life insurance policy. Those girls are entitled to that money when they turn 18. As their uncle, I think I should help manage it. Julian's jaw clenched. I think you should leave. This doesn't concern you, Gerald snapped. These are my nieces. They're my daughters, Julian said firmly. I'm adopting them. And you need to leave my property now. Gerald's eyes narrowed. You can't adopt them. I'm family. I have rights. I'll fight this in court. Simone stepped forward, her voice shaking but determined. "Go ahead and try. We have lawyers. We have resources. And we have the fact that you abandoned us when we needed help. No judge will give you custody." "We'll see about that," Gerald said. He turned and stalked back to his car, a beat-up sedan parked in the driveway. "You haven't heard the last of me." As he drove away, Simone collapsed against Julian, shaking. "How did he find us?" "Probably saw something on social media," Julian said grimly. "The twins' school posts photos sometimes. Or someone from your old neighborhood talked. What would you do if someone from your past threatened your new happiness? Comment below and subscribe to see how this family fights back." "He wants the insurance money," Simone said. "He doesn't care about the girls. He never did." "I know," Julian soothed. "And we'll make sure he doesn't get anywhere near them or the money." They called Mr. Foster immediately. He listened to their account and sighed. "This complicates things, but it's not insurmountable. If he files for custody, we'll fight it. The fact that he abandoned the family will work against him. But we need to be prepared for a battle. Whatever it takes," Julian said firmly. "Those girls are mine. He's not taking them." That night, they sat the twins down and carefully explained that Uncle Gerald might try to cause trouble, but they were safe. The girls remembered him vaguely, mostly remembered him being mean to their dad. "He can't take us away, right?" Layla asked, fear in her eyes. "No," Julian said firmly. "I won't let that happen. You're my daughters, and I protect what's mine." "We don't want to go with him," Tiana said. "We want to stay here with you and Simone." "And you will," Simone assured them. "This is your home. We're your family. Nothing is going to change that." But despite their reassurances, everyone went to bed uneasy that night. The shadow of Gerald's threat hung over their happiness like a dark cloud. The next morning, Mr. Foster called with bad news. Gerald had filed a petition for custody, claiming he was the girl's closest living relative and should have guardianship rights. He also filed an injunction to stop the adoption proceedings until his case could be heard. "Can he do that?" Simone asked, her voice high with panic. "He can file whatever he wants," Mr. Foster said. "Whether he'll win is another matter. I need to gather evidence against him. Any documentation of his absence, his lack of support, anything that shows his unfit." They spent the next week building their case. Simone retrieved old emails and messages showing how Gerald had ignored her pleas for help after their parents died. They got statements from neighbors and friends confirming he'd never been involved in the girls' lives. They documented every instance of his absence. Julian also had Gerald investigated privately. What they found was damning. He had a history of debt, petty crimes, and had recently been fired from his job. He was desperate for money, which explained his sudden interest in his nieces and their insurance policy. The custody hearing was scheduled for late February, just days before Julian and Simone's planned wedding. The timing couldn't have been worse. Simone was a wreck, barely eating or sleeping. The twins sensed the tension and became clingy and quiet. Julian tried to stay strong for all of them, but privately he was terrified. What if the judge sided with blood relation over circumstance? What if they lost the girls after all this? The night before the hearing, Julian found Simone sitting in the twins' room, watching them sleep. He sat beside her, taking her hand. "We're going to lose them," she whispered. "I can feel it." "No," Julian said firmly. "We're not. We have truth on our side. We have evidence of his neglect. We have love and stability and everything those girls need." "But his blood," Simone said, echoing Gerald's words. "That might be enough. Then we'll appeal. We'll fight as long as it takes. I'm not giving up on our family." Simone leaned against him. "I can't go through losing them. They're my whole world." "They're mine too," Julian said. "And tomorrow, we're going to make sure that judge understands that." The courtroom was cold and sterile. Gerald sat with his lawyer, looking smug. Julian, Simone, and Mr. Foster sat on the opposite side, the twins waiting in a separate room with Mrs. Grayson. Gerald's lawyer spoke first, painting a picture of family duty and blood ties. He claimed Gerald had been unaware of the family's struggles, that he'd been dealing with his own problems. He argued that children belonged with blood relatives when possible. Mr. Foster countered with their evidence. He presented the emails Simone had sent begging for help that went unanswered. He showed Gerald's financial records, proving he'd known about the insurance policy all along. He brought in character witnesses who testified to Gerald's absence and Simone's devotion. Then he called Simone to the stand. She spoke calmly and clearly about the past 2 years, about working multiple jobs, about losing their apartment, about Julian finding the girls at the cemetery. She explained how Julian had transformed their lives, how he'd become a father to the twins in ways her uncle never had. "My uncle wants money, not children," Simone said firmly. "Julian wants family. There's a difference, and those girls know it." Gerald's lawyer tried to paint her as influenced by wealth, as someone who'd chosen money over family. Simone shut that down immediately. "I chose love over greed," she said. "I chose someone who showed up when we needed help over someone who disappeared when things got hard. That's not about money. That's about character." Then Mr. Foster dropped his biggest piece of evidence. He'd found records showing Gerald had tried to access the girls' insurance policy 3 times in the past year, always being denied because he wasn't their guardian. This proved his sole interest was financial. Gerald's face went red, and he started shouting, claiming it was his right as family. The judge banged his gavel, calling for order. Gerald's lawyer looked uncomfortable, clearly realizing his case was falling apart. Finally, the judge asked to speak to the twins privately. Julian and Simone waited in agony while Layla and Tiana were taken to the judge's chambers. 20 minutes felt like 20 hours. When they returned, the judge called everyone back into the courtroom. His face was stern as he looked at Gerald. "Mr. Brooks, I've heard the testimonies, reviewed the evidence, and spoken to your nieces. I find your petition for custody to be without merit and based solely on financial gain. The girls have made clear they have no relationship with you and do not wish to be in your custody. Your pattern of absence and neglect, combined with your recent attempts to access their insurance funds, paint a clear picture of your motivations." Gerald started to protest, but the judge held up his hand. "I'm not finished. Furthermore, I'm granting Mr. Prescott's petition to adopt Layla and Tiana Brooks. He has demonstrated consistent care, love, and stability. The girls have thrived in his home, and they consider him their father. Blood relation is not enough when it comes without love, support, or genuine interest in the children's well-being." Julian felt Simone's hand grip his so hard it hurt, but he barely noticed through his relief and joy. "The adoption will be finalized within 30 days, the judge continued. "And Mr. Gerald Brooks, you are hereby ordered to stay away from this family. If you attempt to contact these children again, you will face legal consequences. This case is dismissed." The courtroom erupted. Gerald stormed out, his lawyer hurrying after him. Julian pulled Simone into his arms as she sobbed with relief. The twins ran to them from the back of the courtroom, and they all held each other, crying and laughing simultaneously. "We won," Simone kept saying. "We won. We won," Julian confirmed. "Our family is safe." Mr. Foster shook Julian's hand, smiling broadly. "Congratulations. You have 2 daughters, Mr. Prescott." "Best news of my life," Julian said, his voice breaking with emotion. They took the girls out for a celebration dinner, though none of them could eat much through their excitement and relief. When they got home, the twins wanted to stay close, so they all piled into the master bedroom, watching movies until everyone fell asleep in a tangle of arms and contentment. Julian lay awake long after the others had drifted off, Simone curled against his side, the twins sprawled at the foot of the bed. His family. His real, legal, forever family. The dark cloud had passed, and only sunshine remained. The wedding took place on a beautiful April morning in Julian's backyard. Spring flowers bloomed everywhere, and the weather was perfect. They'd kept it small, just 50 guests, mostly people who mattered to them both. Simone wore a simple white dress that made her look like an angel. The twins wore matching lavender dresses and carried flower baskets, serving as flower girls. As Simone walked down the aisle on Mr. Foster's arm, since she had no father to do the honors, Julian felt tears stream down his face. The ceremony was short but meaningful. They'd written their own vows. Simone went first, her voice steady despite the tears in her eyes. Julian, you found us when we had nothing and gave us everything. But more than the house, the security, the stability, you gave us hope. You showed us that good people still exist, that happy endings are real, that family isn't just blood but choice. You chose us when you had no obligation to, and that choice changed our lives. I promise to love you, support you, and build the life we both dreamed of. You and the girls are my whole world. Julian took a moment to compose himself before speaking. Simone, Layla, Tiana, you three walked into my life when I was just existing, not living. You brought laughter, love, and purpose. Back to empty rooms and an empty heart. Simone, you're the strongest, most beautiful person I've ever known. You inspire me daily. Layla, Tiana, you're my daughters in every way that matters. I promise to protect you, guide you, and love you unconditionally for the rest of my life. This isn't just a marriage. It's a family being born. There wasn't a dry eye in the audience. When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, the twins cheered loudly, making everyone laugh through their tears. Julian kissed Simone thoroughly, then swept both girls into a group hug. The reception was joyful, full of dancing, laughter, and celebration. Julian's parents doted on their new granddaughters, and Mrs. Grayson cried happy tears all day. The twins gave a toast that was adorable and heartfelt, thanking Julian for being their dad and promising to be good daughters. As the sun began to set, Julian and Simone stood together watching the twins play with other children on the lawn. His arms were wrapped around her waist, her back against his chest. Happy, he murmured into her hair. Beyond measure, Simone replied. I keep thinking I'll wake up and this will be a dream. It's real, Julian assured her. This is our life now. Our family. I can't believe how much has changed in 5 months, Simone said. From sleeping in a cemetery to this. It's like a different life. It is a different life, Julian agreed. For all of us. 2 weeks later, they made one more important trip. All 4 of them drove to Oakwood Cemetery on a sunny Saturday morning. They brought flowers for both Emily's grave and one for Simone's parents' grave across town. At Emily's grave, the twins placed their flowers carefully. Thank you, Mrs. Emily, Layla said softly, for watching over us that night and for sending Mr. Julian to find us. For making sure we had a family again, Tiana added. Julian placed his roses on the grave. Emily, I kept my promise. I lived. I loved again. I built the family we always wanted. Thank you for guiding them to me. I'll take care of them forever. Simone added her flowers last. Thank you for raising a man who knows how to love, she said simply. I'll honor your memory by loving him well. As they stood there together, the spring breeze warm on their faces, Julian felt peace settle over him completely. The grief would always be part of him, but it no longer defined him. Love had made room for more love, and his heart was full in a way he'd never imagined possible after loss. They visited Simone's parents' grave next, a simpler stone in a different cemetery. The twins talked to their parents, telling them about school, about their new dad, about how happy they were now. Simone cried as she updated her parents on her life. I wish you could meet Julian, she said. You'd love him, Dad. He's strong and kind, just like you were. And Mom, you'd be so proud of how he takes care of us. The girls are safe, educated, and so loved. I know you're both watching over us. On the drive home, the twins fell asleep in the back seat, exhausted from the emotional day. Julian reached over and took Simone's hand. I was thinking, he said. Maybe in a year or 2, we could think about adding to our family. If you wanted to. Simone looked at him, surprise and joy flickering across her face. You'd want that. Another baby? I'd love that, Julian confirmed. Our family already feels complete, but there's always room for more love. I'd like that too, Simone said softly. A baby that's ours together. Layla and Tiana are ours together, Julian corrected gently. But yes, a baby would be wonderful. 6 months later, Julian got the call he'd been waiting for. The adoption was officially finalized. Layla and Tiana's birth certificates now read, Julian Prescott, father. He picked them up from school that day with the news. It's official, he told them as they climbed into the car. You're mine. Legally, officially, permanently mine. The girls screamed with delight, hugging him so tight he could barely breathe. We're really Prescotts now? Layla asked. Really and truly, Julian confirmed. Layla Brooks Prescott and Tiana Brooks Prescott. How does that sound? Perfect, Tiana breathed. We have a complete family now. That night, they had a second celebration. Simone made a cake, and they toasted with sparkling cider to their family being complete and legal. The twins wanted to frame their new birth certificates and hang them in their rooms. As Julian tucked them into bed that night, Layla looked up at him with her big, serious eyes. Dad. His heart still skipped every time they called him that. Yes, sweetheart. Do you think Mrs. Emily knew this would happen? That we'd all end up together? Julian thought about it carefully. I think maybe she did. I think she sent you to me because she knew we'd all save each other. We did save each other, Tiana agreed from her bed. You saved us from being cold and hungry, and we saved you from being sad and alone. That's exactly right, Julian said, kissing both their foreheads. We're all exactly where we're meant to be. As he left their room, turning off the light, he heard them whisper to each other, "We have the best dad ever." His heart swelled with love so intense it was almost painful. He found Simone in their bedroom, looking at her wedding photos. She smiled when she saw him. The girls asleep. Yes. And they just told each other they have the best dad ever. Simone laughed, pulling him close. They're right. You are the best dad. And the best husband. Julian kissed her, long and deep. I'm the luckiest man alive. I was given a second chance at love, at family, at happiness. And it's all because two little girls chose my wife's grave to pray at. Do you believe in fate now? Simone asked, settling into his arms. Julian thought about the chain of events that brought them together. The impossible coincidence of finding the twins at that exact place at that exact time. How everything had fallen into place so perfectly. I believe in love, he said finally. I believe in family. And I believe we were meant to find each other. Me too, Simone agreed. Me too. A year later, they welcomed a baby boy into their family. The twins doted on their little brother, fighting over who got to hold him. Julian and Simone watched their 3 children together and marveled at how full their lives had become. And sometimes, on quiet evenings, Julian would stand in his backyard and think about Emily, about the girls appearing at her grave, about the chain of miracles that built this family. He'd silently thank her for the gift, for the sign, for bringing them to him when he needed them most. Because in the end, they'd all saved each other. A broken man, a struggling woman, and 2 little girls sleeping in a cemetery had found each other and built something beautiful. A family. A home. A happy ending that none of them had believed was possible. And every single day, Julian woke up grateful for the second chance he'd been given. For the love that filled every corner of his once empty house. For the laughter that echoed through rooms that had been silent too long. For the family that had found him in the most unlikely place, on the darkest day, and changed everything. Their story had started in a graveyard, but it had bloomed into a life more beautiful than any of them could have imagined. And that, Julian knew, was the real miracle. Not just that they'd found each other, but that they'd chosen to build something lasting from their broken pieces. Together.